Hi and welcome to the Art of the Hieros Gamos podcast. My name is Hieros and I'm creating this podcast with a lot of love. I hope you will find it interesting. Here I share my story of a spiritual awakening, ego death, and how meeting my so-called twin flame changed absolutely everything. If you like what you hear, please join, subscribe, follow. And now let's just get started. The beautiful thing about this thing that I am doing, which is creating a podcast, sharing it on other platforms as YouTube, is that I feel no pressure whatsoever. In fact, you can hear there is a little dog walking about. I'm still thinking whether I should edit this out, but I think in this occasion I'm going to leave it just like this. So yes, there is no pressure for me to perform, to have however many viewers I want to have or downloads or whatever, because that's not the purpose, that's not the thing that has ignited my desire to do this. The beautiful thing about this, which I'm doing, is that the very act of doing it itself, it's enough. I of course believe in energies. I believe they are more powerful than anything else. And I know, I really know, it's a certainty within me, but I can also sense it around me, not just in myself, but in people around me, just by putting the ideas out there and by continuing to be, open to accessing this wisdom, as it were, thinking, reflecting. All this itself is very powerful. And just in case you're thinking, although I don't feel I need to justify myself in any way, but I don't mean it, that this is exclusive, of course, of me. This is energies, and we are all energies. And of course, the more aware you are that you are an energetic body, the more you can use these energies in your favor and the collective of souls inhabiting this planet. And the thing I wanted to talk about today is in the context of so-called twin flames. And really, I begin to believe that everything that happens in a twin flame relationship dynamic can be applied to any relationship or situation. However, it is very true, because this is how I've experienced it myself, that these dynamics with this person I identify as a so-called twin flame, although I dislike the label very much, are very strong, are the strongest I've ever known. So if you don't identify yourself as a twin flame, this will be useful and valid for you too. So extrapolate it as it suits. So twin flame soul activation gets talked about a lot. And yeah, as we know, this is when you meet them, or possibly even before you meet them. Your souls are somehow talking to each other, and as it were, and you're being activated, being made aware somehow that you're going to meet this person. And when you meet this person, you know that something important has just happened. And this sets everything in motion. By this I mean the crazy roller coaster you're blissfully ignorant you're about to embark on. And so this is the first activation that takes place when you finally meet them. And then fleetingly you're going to experience pure soul love, which, by the way, has not only nothing to do with ego-driven love is in fact its polar opposite. So everything is wonderful and lovely, even though you still don't know what's happening, until the ego makes an appearance. Because you meet this person so that you see who you truly are. Whether they are your soul's other half or not, perhaps it's irrelevant. The truth is that they activate this thing where you see yourself in them, and because you have carried an ego, I call it the ego virus, within you all your life. You know, this virus's main function is to prevent you from seeing who you are, a powerful, magical, indestructible, invincible soul. This is the very reason for the ego's existence. And so you're also used to operating in this way. The ego virus, I see it as a thing, you know, implanted in your consciousness software. It's like a little bit of code that shouldn't be there, but it's there. And so ego and soul kind of express through the same pathway. That's why it's so difficult for us to identify who is who, especially not knowing that the ego even exists as an implant, you know, as a thing maliciously put there by what I call the dark forces, in order to keep us away from inner union, from recognizing who we are and bringing that power into the world. Because the dark forces want us to be blind to our true power, because when we awaken to our true power, they are out. This is all about magnetism, you know, yin and yang, day and night, polarities. When we're in, they are out. And we have more power. That's why they have to control us in this way. Because the moment we see it, that's it for them. Game over. So then you meet this person, and then your ego goes like, oh, yo, no. We really have to work hard now. And so you go, okay, I really like this person's company. And then you start to interpret everything through your ego. I want to be with them, I want to marry them, or whatever. I want to, you know, be with them happily ever after. And because the initial soul activation was so strong, because they are the closest to you that there can be, you know, and our souls, they have their own programming too, which is to exist and express themselves in its full power. So you really want this person, not knowing that what you want is yourself. They're just facing you so that you can, you know, then look inside and find them inside of yourself, as it were, to use maybe not the most suitable of terms, but I'm sure you know what I mean. This is a Hieros, Gamos, a sacred marriage to yourself. So, because this activation is so incredibly strong, your ego has to respond in an equally strong way. That's why you may have had similar relationship patterns in the past. I know I've had. But the pain and the intensity was nowhere near what it is with this person that is now in my life. And oh my God, you know, it can be really, really painful. You know, the ego virus is really a distortion mechanism of your soul's true nature. So this is what I call ego activation, when you start acting through your ego, or in other words, you let your ego run free because you are unaware that it is there. And the ego the ego's way of expressing everything is the opposite of how the soul expresses everything. And that's why you can't escape each other. And also, your ego virus is the polar opposite of their ego virus, and let me explain what I mean. I believe that this little bit of code maliciously put in our software has two variants, A and B, or a negative, positive, if we use magnetism terms, or as many people call it, divine feminine, divine masculine, yin, yang. So what this means, and this is why it's clear for me that the ego is not the result of our own doing. It's somebody who really doesn't the best for us. Somebody, energies, that put it there in our consciousness in a very, very clever way, which is the following: how you understand love or emotions is a polar opposite of how they understand love and emotions. So when you realize that you don't want to let them go, you're going to act in a way which to them is incomprehensible. So very briefly put, you run towards love, your ego runs towards love, and their ego runs away from love. You, because if you I say you when I should say me, I fall under the category of the yin energy. So you, if you are yin energy, you need, your way of finding your other half or yourself is by means of needing it. You feel that you need it, and once you have it, you don't want to let it go. But for you, yang energy, it works in the total opposite way. You think if you have it, you lose it. So you would rather not have it than ever lose it. So you run away. And then when it comes to trying to fix the situation, because at the same time, of course, the soul is very much there going like, for goodness sake, wake up, and it keeps, it keeps making an appearance, it keeps bringing you together so that you keep confronting, so that you can confront the situation and hopefully turn it around, so that you never stop feeling the love. And it's so strong because it's the love for yourself which you yet haven't really found, but you found it in this way, and your soul is not going to let you let go of it until you integrate it. So you want to fix it and they want to fix it. But another key difference here is because everything is inverted, everything. I might record an episode just going through all the little details, like an A to Z, and how they are inverted. You, yin energy, for you, this process is very conscious. You are aware of everything that your ego is doing without knowing it's your ego, and that your soul is doing. You're very aware of everything. And you, young energy, are very unconscious. You've no idea what's going on. And so that this creates more misunderstandings. So we are trying to understand the situation from our own particular virus programming, position. And they are doing the same. And we try to be in their shoes, but we can't because we are embodying the wrong role, and vice versa. So obviously this is never going to bring in understanding. And then, you think they know what's going on, and they don't know that anything is going on, so they've no idea the pain you're going through. So you're in pain and they're really not, in my opinion. They are in an unconscious kind of pain which they can put aside because they don't know where it's coming from. Yang energy, I don't want to do this exclusively for the yin energy. And so when you try to fix it, again, because the ego virus or programming code is distorting the situation, you're going to do it from a way which is incomprehensible to them. So this will keep you in that constant dynamic, of pushing and pulling. And another thing that gets inverted is that, as we know, opposites attract and similars repel. But in the case of the ego virus, it's the opposite. That's why in your life, if you look closely, you will find that your more stable relationships would have probably been with people of your same type of energy, because it is coming through the ego. Because this is how we interpret emotions. That's how we interpret love, through the ego. So when through the ego, similars attract, because the soul bond is so strong that you feel the pull, which tends to overcome the ego's tendency in this case to feel repelled by its contrary. So you keep coming back to them, not knowing why. In this instance, you're not walking away like you've done possibly all your life, and so you keep embodying the opposite of your energy, as it were, because of the ego distortion, and you keep pushing them away, because, I repeat, through the ego mind, opposites repel. So your interpretation and your plan, as it were, to bring the two of you together, is pushing them away. And it would push you away too if it weren't for the fact that the soul is there doing its job, and keeping you hooked in a situation, making it impossible for you to escape it. And this analogy of the virus, I find it really very useful, because it is through the understanding of the ego as a virus that it has become so easy for me to turn everything around. Ultimately, the function of the ego virus is to keep us blind to our true nature, and it does so by manifesting through us our need for validation, external validation. And of course, if you are of the positive magnetic force or yang, you're avoiding validation because you're doing the opposite. And the yin energy, one of its characteristics, which is in itself a beautiful soul trait, but remember that the ego is a distortion, a vibration, a distortion mechanism. These people tend to be extremely humble and, at least in appearance, kind, through the ego, that is. And so they have the key, because they have it in them. You have it in you, I have it in me. To be humble enough to realize that this person is not running away from me because they are idiots. It's running away from me because of the energies I am inadvertently putting out there. And this still being, of a yin nature and extremely humble, is painful. It's painful to admit. You don't really want to admit that. But here is the key. When you understand that you do this because an alien entity, not yourself, something foreign, external, planted in you this bit of code that makes you act not in accordance with your true nature, which is your soul, then you understand that you're guilt-free. You experience this through your ego. That's the magic in here. And so through the ego itself, you go into your soul by saying, through the ego, you see, because the ego is the one that needs validation. Oh, I'm validated. It wasn't really my fault. Yes, I pushed them away, much like they pushed me away, or much like they kept me chasing. But really, I didn't know what I was doing. And this is the beginning of the ego destruction. It's the ego programming code virus thing is obviously a very clever, super little clever plan, but the loophole found by the soul is so much more powerful. So yeah, this is briefly what I wanted to talk about today, just ego activation versus soul activation. When your ego gets activated is when everything goes kaput and you start suffering, and of course you run the risk of being in this dynamic forever. And just to conclude, I'd like to suggest that a very good way to begin deconstructing this, apart from understanding and integrating this which I've shared, if it resonates with you, that is to embrace the pain when you feel it, because also that the pain is not yours. Remember that the soul can't feel pain. It's just incompatible with the soul's true nature. So you feel the pain, and of course you want to fix it, you want to stop the pain, but this is your ego. Your ego virus doesn't want to die, and it's going to hurt a lot, so that you do the things that you're used to doing, which is the opposite of what you should do, as a light being, so that the pain stops. You have to do the opposite. Everything is about doing the opposite. You embrace the pain, and the more you do so, the easier it becomes to detach from it and just watch it play its thing. I am a biomagnetism or biomagnetic pair therapist. You may be thinking, what on earth has this got to do with anything? Well, everything is magnetism. And the way the biomagnetic pair understands ailments and illnesses is based on the principle of two pathogens working together in resonance in our bodies, a positive and a negative pathogens. And it's by killing one of them that the other will die, and with it the ailment. And this is exactly the dynamic with your twin flame. So you, yin energy, you're gonna have to kill your ego virus. And when you do, apart from the beauty that awaits you on the other side, this will bring about the demise of their positive polarity ego virus. Well, this is it for tonight. I thank you for your company, whether you are physically here with me or not. And I send you loads of love, pure, soul, unadulterated, ego-free love. Until next time.